Welcome to Mary Pitts Live presents 31 Marital Gems. Are you single, married, divorced, or dating? If you answered yes, then this is for you. Mary Pitts is a pastor, spiritual advisor, author, world-renowned speaker, and entrepreneur. Here's your host, Mary Pitts.
Good evening, everyone. This is your host, Mary Pitts. I am so blessed to be with you again. I tell you, I enjoyed my time with you. And on yesterday, we definitely talked about gem number 1, and we're going to get into gem number 2 today. But I would like to say that all this month, all the way until January 31st, we will be sharing 31 marital gems. These are my marital gems. These are things that I've learned through 31 years of marriage and changes that had to take place. And so these are things that insight that God gave me, some things that I've learned and I want to share with you. So it's like I'm sharing my story with you, and I pray that you glean from it. I pray that maybe you can take something from it, learn it, apply it to your marriage, and even if you're single and looking forward and getting married, or maybe you're engaged, dating, these are some things that you can consider. But anyway, I am so I'm blessed to be with you all today, and just want to thank you so much for being with me today. And make sure you share. Sharing is caring, all right? And so I am going to get right into our marital gem, which is gem number 2. And so, it is so important that we begin to share, and it is wisdom. Just pray. I just like to encourage you all just to pray for wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, spiritual insight. And that is so much, because there's some things that can be right before you, but you don't understand, you don't see. But I tell you, the Holy Spirit will definitely enlighten you and just reveal some things to you where you just keep going through the same thing over and over and over. Or have you ever got tired of going around the same mountain over and over and over again? And so we just bless God today to be with you, and just thank God for each and every one of you, and just appreciate your prayers and your continued support. And so today we would like to share our gem number 2. Gem number 2 is, what does it mean when you say I do? What does it mean when you say I do? That's gem number 2. What does it mean when you say I do? Well, one thing I learned from that is I like to share with you saying I do. And so I would like to share with you today the marriage vows. Some of us say, and you know what? It's not a legit. It's sort of traditional marriage vows. You find now today that some people write their own, what have you. However, I'm not getting into all of that, but whatever you write, it's like a commitment that you're making. And so one is that says, I, Mary Pitts, take thee, to be my wedded husband or wife, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poor, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish, till death do us part, according to God's holy ordinance, and thereto I pledge thee my faith, or pledge myself to you. So that's sort of a vow, marriage vow, that we kind of familiar with. But you know what? Although I said I do to those, and what was so funny about our wedding was my husband and I, the pastor that officiated the wedding, and if you see my look on the pictures where I'm just looking up, like, because he had me to repeat it, he repeated like 3 times. And I told my husband, you never said the marriage vows. You didn't say I do to the marriage vow. But anyway, he said that was because he was sure and I wasn't. I don't know about that, but anyway, that's his take on it. But anyway, so it was kind of funny, and just some of the people that attended the wedding, they remember that, and I tend to talk about it all the time. But nevertheless, we say I do, but you know what? Even with these marriage vows, they mean one thing to him and one thing to me. And though we can be saying the same words and saying I do to the same words, the same thing was read to us. But if you think about it, it doesn't mean the same to both parties. So that's what I've learned, that I had to really talk about it and discuss it. What does this really mean to me? Because a lot of times when you get into that marriage and you start going through those changes that I was talking about on yesterday, that we forget about the vows that we made. In other words, we say, well, I didn't intend, no, not to that level, not to that degree. Yeah, I'll be with you through sickness and all that, but not to that. No, I didn't sign up for this, and so, or richer or poor. No. And when you start going through financial difficulties and issues of financial difficulties and things like that, and you start saying, I didn't sign up for this, and we'll find ourselves saying things like, well, I do bad by myself, and so you have to really, it's saying for better or for worse, and sometimes your better is not their better, or your worse is not his worse, and so you have to really get into what do you mean by this? And that's one thing that I learned, is that through words, that we can say the same words, but they mean something totally different. And so that's how miscommunication, that's how misunderstanding happens, because you can say the same words, but it means something totally different, because where you come from your background, your foundation, how you've been raised, how you've been taught, and certain things so all of that plays a part in it. And so you can even read and define the word. You can go to Webster Dictionary, but I am saying, as soon as you start dissecting it and it start going through this right here, your train of thought and your mindset and all of that, you means something totally different. So I would like to encourage you to make sure that you have this conversation. And then another thing is that you have to understand the place that you're in, the level of maturity. I was, my husband and I are 4 years apart. So I was 27. And he was 31. And so we were 4 years apart, and he was married before, had went through a divorce and had children. And so remember, I told you that was my criteria. I was like, no, they can't be married for. But anyway, God didn't pay me any attention. And so a lot of times we think we're in control, but love is in control. But I began to realize that in our conversation is that, hey, this means something different to him than it means to me. And so that's where the misunderstanding comes. And this is what I want you to understand, that you can be saying the same words, you can read the same thing, but as it goes through our process, and we process it in our mind and in the way we think, and things that happened to us, what we done been through, and all of those things like that, we come out on the other end with a total different message. And so it's very important that we understand that and get that understanding. And so that plays a significant part. So the thing is what does it mean when you say I do? So I want you to think on that and to begin to understand that. What does it mean when you say I do? Those are two words. You said I do to all of this. And so it's going to take God to really help you. And I know I say it God a lot, because that is what really, having that relationship with the Lord, and especially I want to talk to you ladies, that having a prayer life, and because there's some things that the Spirit will reveal that you're not seeing with the natural eye. And so you could be going round and round in circles and experiencing the same thing. And like I told you I mentioned yesterday, it's so significant and important that we begin to examine our own self. And so what does it mean to you when you say I do? And not only you need to examine yourself and ask yourself that, but you also need to ask your partner that, the one that, you're marrying. And you don't have to wait till after you get married. You can have this conversation. And so, because all of this right here, I've seen all the time is that we went through some tough times, and we went through some challenging times, and all of this. And so going back to this, not only going back to my vows, but also going back to the prophecy that I received and holding on to the prophecy. Remember yesterday I mentioned about the prophecy I received, that he was a man of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And so he wasn't there already. And by the way, when we got married or met and was dating, I wasn't thinking about man of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. That came into play back to my remembrance as a few years after we've been married, and he was preaching. And prior to that, because he was always about, out of all you're getting, get understanding. So my husband, one of his favorite scriptures, he was like, out of all you're getting, get understanding. And I see why, because he's a teacher. He's a dynamic teacher of the word of God. But also, just because he's a teacher and also an apostle, it doesn't mean that we wasn't going to go through changes. And so I began to understand. And those changes just went over into, we can say things out of our mouth. And God said, yeah, you say it out of your mouth, but your heart is far from it. And so you're going to be tested. You're going to be where I had to hold on to the prophecy, the word that God had given, in spite of what it looked like, in spite of how things began to look and how things happen. And it was like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. Because in actuality, when we're saying I do, we're actually saying I do to what? Better. We're saying I do to richer. When we're saying I do to health, and we're saying I do to love and cherish, but we're really not thinking about, I don't even think that you're going to get sick. I don't even think that we're going to be poor. We're going to have, we're coming together because we're going to this. And I know what God said. We look at on that side and we hold on to that, but we're not saying I do to the other part. So think about it. What are you saying? What do you mean when you say I do? Well, anyway, today I have a guest with me. Her name is Sharita Johnson. And I am so delighted to have her on with me today. And she's going to come on and we're going to have a conversation and elaborate on this. So if you have questions, you have comments, please put them in the comments. And so we would, all right. And so, hello, Sharita. Welcome to Mary Pitts Live. I am so blessed to have you with me today. On Mary Pitts Live, sharing my 31 marital gems. And And so just introduce yourself, tell the audience a little bit about yourself and who you are, how long you've been married. Are you on mute? Because I can't hear you.
Oh, here we go. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, I'm Sharita Johnson. I reside in Fort Pierce, Florida. I've been married for 17, next month will make 18 years. I've been up under the tutelage of Mary Pitts and her husband for some years. And I can tell you, I think these gems that we're listening to and hearing about, they're going to help all of us. Because
Yes.
most of us think after 31 years, you should have everything should just be perfect.
Right.
But the fact that you're coming in and you're sharing with those of us that is along this journey that have not been married as long, I think that's beautiful. And to be transparent, you don't see that often. So I just want to say thank you for coming on and sharing with us. We really appreciate it. But I'm excited to be here. And if you know anything about me, you know I'm gonna be honest.
And that's what I love about you. People said, they say honesty is the best policy. I always say honesty is the only policy.
Yes.
But, anyway, I just appreciate it because we also have the marriage fitness program that we do every first Friday. And so we had it on last night and we had an awesome time.
It was really,
and so Sharita and her husband, Kim, they spearhead that. So if you're interested in being a part of our marriage fitness, make sure you message us and we will make sure we get that information to you. We have it on, we're on Zoom, aren't we? Yes, we're on Zoom. Anyway, it's really awesome. But anyway, our gem number 2 today, Sharita, is what does it mean when you say I do? How long have you been married?
Almost 18 years. Next month,
years.
February 22nd will make 18 years. And listen, I listened to you ahead of time when you were talking about what the I do meant and all that stuff. All I knew was I do really, really like you and love you. I like the way you look. I do this, but all that extra stuff, no, I wasn't prepared for that. Nobody could have ever told me the twists and turns, the ups and downs, the heartaches, the any of that. Nobody could have ever prepared me for that I thought that I just thought it was gonna be perfect. Because as long as we say I do, we do. We're gonna be fine.
And you know what, Sharita, when you saying that, you know what that made me think about is
What?
that when we go to the doctor, right? Actually, I just had an appointment last week and I was at the doctor. And so I had to fill out all these papers and, all this writing and stuff. I'm just signing and everything.
Right.
And I have no idea all of that, just going on their words. You know what I'm saying? So when
Yes.
something else come up, I'm like, I didn't know about that. I didn't know, and you done sign all of this without reading it and maybe reading it, but not understanding in detail what it all
Yes.
involves. And so just like you're saying is that I like the way he looked. I like, and my thing was I want him to love God as much as I do, as even more. And so,
Yes.
he was in the church and going
Yes.
to church and all of that, that was a plus, and we have all these criterias or things that what we look at. And a lot of times, Sharita, it's external. And it's not internal. We don't pay attention to the internal. Come on.
You're right about that. You're right about that because listen, all that I thought that I wanted physically in a man, I got it. My husband's tall, he's dark. Let me not leave this out. And he's bow-legged.
Oh, the bow legs.
The bow legs. Yes, the bow legs. And he has really nice teeth. So all that, I got all of that. But I never knew about all the other stuff that was going to come along with all of that.
Right.
And even down to the stuff that was in me, I didn't realize that, okay, you got to change because, I thought I was good.
Mm-hmm.
I've been by myself. I've been single for 8 years.
Right.
So I was good. There was nothing that needed to change, nothing that needed to be fixed. When he come in, he needs to fall in line and kind of make sure, because now I was opposite of you. I had 3 children.
Mm-hmm.
Both of us had been married before. So
Right.
You would think coming in the fact that, both of us, quote unquote, had experience that we would know some of the pitfalls in a marriage. No, ma'am.
Uh-huh.
No, ma'am. We had to learn each other and we're still learning each other. And one of the things that I realized is the closer we grow to Christ, the more we grow spiritually, then that's another level of understanding, another level of change, and another level of trying to get to know one another again at that particular level. So it's been an interesting, challenging journey.
Yes, because you know what? When we get involved with someone else, it's going to cause us to face ourselves. And we think we good because we've been on the island by ourselves for years. You know what I'm saying? Yes. And so we've been in control of things. And so what we a lot of times what we miss and understand, and I tell people a lot of times we think a person trying to control them. In actuality, what it is not control, it's change that we're going through. And so that's why I'm saying that we need to embrace that change. We need to really get down and when you was talking about change, the Bible tells us we change from one glory to the next. Yeah. And so every time that we change, we're going to have to change with the change. And if we don't change with the change, Sharita, I said yesterday that our old self will sabotage the relationship, sabotage the marriage because we're not changing. We have to change with the change. Even when our spouse change, we have to change with the change because we'll still interact and treat them like their old self because we're at our old self. And we have to realize people do change.
Yes. And here's the thing, but whoever knew all of this? We didn't talk about this.
We didn't get a manual.
Transparent. Yeah, like who? Even when you go through marital counseling, it was never to the depth of what we're talking about today, and how. I mean, good thing about this, hindsight is 2020.
Right. And that's what I want to share, and so that's what I want to share. And so, even we had the conversation about bringing my husband on and different, and he may come on soon. But what I was explaining was, these are my gems. These are the things that God dealt with me on. These are some things that I've learned, hindsight, that I see. And I see where I've matured in. And so there are some things that where I just had a conversation and where God is speaking through me and I'm writing things, but you have to take that and implement them. You have to
Yeah.
apply them. You have to change. And so if you're wanting to, a lot of times we want to be a wife, but we don't want the marriage.
What does that mean?
Huh?
Explain that to me.
The ideal of marriage, the ideal of being a wife, yes, I'm married, because everybody else is married, or because some of ladies feel they can't do ministry, they need a husband, and they need, and all this stuff like that.
Yes,
But
I got you.
Go through the changes that marriage going to take us through.
And one of the things,
I have the idea of, just a name that, I'm married.
Yes. So here's the
I say I want to be married, but I don't want to be the wife. I should reverse it.
That too. And it's funny, Miss Pitts, because one of the things that I realize is even in marriage, let's say we're going through whatever situation we're going through, not knowing that that's normal, we try to hide it.
Mm-hmm.
How you doing? Oh, I'm blessed and highly favored of the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Well, how's this? Oh, everything's just fine. Everything's just perfect. Oh, no. Oh, my husband. Oh, I just love. Oh, he's just. Then we get up and we have to introduce our spouse. We're gonna say all this glorious stuff. I mean, not that you need to get up and say anything differently.
Exactly.
But what I'm saying is, we never come into the truth, or never ever reveal where we are and what we're dealing with, not knowing that you had my answer. You had some things, you had some nuggets and some wisdom that you could have given me and said, you know what, this is what you need to do, and this is what's going to happen. Some things you're going to have to just go through, because what God is processing you through, so that he can get the maturity out of you, is going to take place. And some things you can say, oh, you know what, I know your personality. You're going to have to back up a little bit. I know you can be very direct, so you're going to have to pump the brakes a little bit. That's your husband don't need directness. This is what I know y'all enough to know. And sometimes just that little wisdom can go a long way. See, I believe, Ms. Fitz, and you can correct me, I don't think that life has to be a teacher of everything.
Exactly. You can learn from others. You can learn from what is that called it? You don't have to experience is a teacher, but it's not the best teacher.
Yes.
Information, being informed.
Exactly.
Right. And so sometimes, because if we don't get it by revelation, we'll get it by situation. So now we have to go through it in order to get it. So because we don't listen, or we don't take heed, and you know what, we don't have and we have mothers, or the Bible talks about mothers, and have those that are mature and those that have gone through some things that really can share some insight and begin to tell us. And but sometimes we have a generation that don't want to submit, don't want to hear, have I know attitude, but you know what? The situation, when you don't take heed, you're going to go through some things. And yes, there's a lot of things I went through because through experience, but that's not the best teacher. A lot of wisdom and things I gained from observation and learning from others and taking heed and stuff like that. And so we have to learn to that we don't know. This thing doesn't come with a manual. And so if you're just joining us, you are listening to Mary Pitts Live, and my guest, Sharita Johnson. And we are sharing this month about 31 marital gems. And we're on gem number 2, which is what does it mean when you say I do? And so that's our conversation today. What does it mean when you say I do? And we've been talking about, Sharita, how we can say the same words, we can read the same thing. And so that's why we're so upset and disappointed, because he said I do and you ain't keep your vows. Well, we didn't understand the vows.
Right.
Because what the vows meant to me meant something totally different to my husband. So we never was on the same page. We read the same. We said I do to the same thing. But when we take it and processes through our way of thinking and what we done went through and our pains and our disappointments and all that, some of us have certain limits to it. No, talking about better or worse. Okay, what your worst is? Because see, I ain't taking too much. I ain't put up no foolishness. And some of us like, well, I see my mama put up with it, and I ain't fit to put up with it. My best friend put up with it, and I ain't fit to deal. No, I ain't dealing with that. Oh, come on. And when it gets to Sharita, to the richer or the poor, richer or poor,
it's the richer.
I do bad by myself.
It's the richer.
You know, we just said I do to Richard. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yes.
we focus on stuff like, I need to know what your credit score is. I need to know, all this stuff like this here and how you know how to manage. And some of this stuff, all my prophecy said was he's a man of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Didn't say nothing about no credit report and all this other stuff that we make a criteria. We make all this stuff a criteria, Sharita, about credit score, all these different things, and then don't know what he's like internally.
I agree.
You know what?
I agree.
Can you stand the rain?
Oh, can you stand it? Look, sometimes that rain is a downpour. Can you stand that? Are you just what they say? Are you just only when the sun is out? Are you those kind of? Yeah, it's got to be on the shining days. Outside of that, you're not. Miss Fitz, I'm gonna be honest with you. I did not know that I do encompass when I didn't feel like being intimate with my husband. That was a part of I do as well. Exactly. And I didn't feel like cleaning or cooking or
because your body don't belongs to you. And that's what we do. And so we go into this because we going in, like I was saying yesterday, Sharita, that it's about becoming what? One. What is the vision? We want to become, but we don't want to become one. We still want our own individuality, our own, you know what I'm saying? It's me, myself, and I. And so what I do means is that I got to get rid of me, myself, and I and start embracing we and us.
One of the
me, myself, and I always, and that's the transition that you're going through. That's the change that you're going through, is that getting rid of that me, myself, and I. And so what you thinking, because went through certain things before this, never again I put myself last, never again, it's gonna be all about me. Well, you need to stay single.
It's funny because one of the things that I realized in life that we're planning for everything. We'll put ourselves on a budget, we're planning what we're gonna cook for the week. Those of us that go to work, we're planning. Some people now, they're gonna put in a closet what they're going to wear, all the clothes they're going to wear, but we really don't sit down and do a plan for our marriage.
Exactly.
What we're going to fellowship together, especially if you're coming together. Are we going to go to your church? We're going to go to the church that I'm a part of. How are we going to do this? Not working through that. And most of the times, most people think that if you're with the man, then once you get married, you need to go to wherever he is. That may not be the best place for you spiritually.
Exactly.
And see, we don't plan. We don't talk about all that. We don't talk about what we're going to do with the finances. Not only that, when we have children, all of this is part of the I do. So if you have children,
in other words, the I do, you said I do to stuff that's not even written here.
Not written.
You said I do to things that not even this little small portion of what the minister reads. I take thee to be my wedded husband, to hold this day forward for better, for worse, for richer, for poor, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish, to death do us part. According to that stuff that's in between those lines,
What's that stuff that's in between those lines? We don't see that.
We don't realize it's a whole lot more that's encompassed in this that is not, and it's going to take the Spirit to reveal. It's going to take someone that's mature, someone that's been there to begin to open this up to you. And so that's why it's so important to have premarital counseling. It's so important to, and even not just that, we just do it one time. And the thing about what I'm focusing on, Sharita, is that not how to just start the relationship. I think we started and we ended. But how do we maintain this? How do we maintain these vows? How do we, you know what I'm saying? Keep these.
Yes, that's really good. And when we talk about the maintaining, you're right. When do we decide at what point that we need some help? Or do we wait until we need help? Or along the way, do we say, you know what, let's have a discussion. Let's make sure we have people in our life that's going to keep us accountable. Because when we had our wedding and we invited all those guests, the people that we love, our family and friends, those are the people that was in the audience that's supposed to say, you know what, these are the vows that you made, and we're going to make sure you hold on to those vows. We're going to make you stay accountable. But most people think that they're just there to get a good meal. and to see how pretty you look coming down the aisle. It
Oh,
is
wow.
not that I'm there to keep you and hold you accountable in this marriage, in this I do that I witnessed. I'm a witness to this. We don't think about that. And a lot of times we have to, I think now going forward, a lot of the younger people, I'll be honest with you, they're very selective as to what they're doing as far as weddings now and who they're inviting, because it's like, I really want people that love us, people that's there for us, and people that's really going to hold us accountable. So they don't do all this big lavish stuff. A lot of times they want to do a destination thing, and you may have 20 people there because you know those 20 people, they got your back. They have your best interests at hand. So yeah, that the witnesses that were there, there's plenty of them that.
Yeah, and you can't. And the part about these vows, it says that to death do us part according to God's holy ordinances. And some of us, we ain't must have no relationship with God. We ain't about no God. It's just about this God that grandma and mom and all that. And so we really ain't, oh, I want my marriage to be, on biblical terms based and God and all of that.
Well,
That's easily said. You can say that out of your mouth, but are you actually?
Let me tell you, my excuse was, I was like, that includes spiritual death. So we were dead. So death has done us part. So listen.
That's good.
Listen, we make up excuses, anything that can justify that.
We don't have to change.
That was me, Miss Fitz.
That we don't have to change. We interpret. The Bible says rightly divide the word. We divide and rightly divide the word that where we're going to benefit, and that it doesn't require a change on our part. One thing that my husband said that was so powerful the other day that we were sharing, and it was about something else, but I want to apply it to this. It says, can you give up what you love because of who you love?
That's good.
Can you give up what you love because of who you love? You say you love him, but can you give up what you love because of who you love?
That's good. That listen, to yourself be true. I got to think about that one.
I think we all.
Honestly, I don't have anything in my life outside of my family that I love so much, or any activities or anything that I'm involved in that is going to say, can you give up? That right now, today, I can say that's an easy yes.
And you know what we'll say? We'll give up, even like Abraham had to give up his son, right? But God said, God already knew what Abraham was going to do. And so Abraham needed to see what he was going to do.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So when God have us to do certain things, it's not about God don't know what we're going to do. We need to see what we're going to do, because we say anything out of our mouth.
I agree.
When pressure comes, and immediately after my husband and I had married, and he had to go back in the hospital with this leg, because those of you know that he went through cancer. And so he had to go back in and have surgery because the rod in his leg and had to go. So that's at the beginning of our marriage. You know what I'm saying? But my love for him, that wasn't a bother. Sometimes when we get into these certain things happening in our marriage, it's bothering me. And you need to ask yourself, why is that an issue with you? Why is it bothering you? Because love makes sacrifices. And you can say you love a person, but until you go through in the trenches and go through the hell and go through all this different stuff, you know what I mean? And so it feel like your flesh is being torn. You're going through. Why? Because the two is becoming one. You got to leave and cleave.
Yes.
And that is painful.
Now, let me tell you, you talk about the leave and cleave. So my husband and I used to talk about that all the time. And I say, okay, let's pull the Bible out. And it said that the man should leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife. So I used to try to make it, where you need to leave, not me. You need to leave your family, but that ain't what it said to me. I'm just saying, every type of any excuse that I can throw in there not understanding what all of I do meant.
Right.
Hindsight definitely is 2020, Miss Pierce. I look at some of the stuff and realize that some of the stuff that we've gone through was because of my selfishness,
Mm.
because of my unwillingness to change, my not wanting to change,
Mhm.
wanting my husband to do X, Y, and Z. Where if you change, then maybe things will be better. If you did this, and then maybe things will be this way. And everything was, if he did, then it'll look this way. If he did, then it'll be that way. And I
Mhm.
would use things like, the woman is the receiver. You, whatever you're gonna give me, I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna multiply it. It's gonna be beautiful. You give me a house, I'm gonna give you a home. You give me a
Mhm.
seed, I'm gonna bury some children. All of the colloquial sayings that we've heard.
Right.
All of I used all of that. I did.
Mm.
I used all of that, not understanding that it was being selfish. It was one-sided, and I wasn't doing. It was I
Wow.
do not, I won't not. It wasn't I do dot dot dot. It
Ah,
wasn't that.
that's good.
Mm-mm.
Instead of I do, we start says I won't,
Don't.
I
And I won't.
can't, I
Yes.
will not. We have all them nots.
Yes.
Oh, wow, wow. Well, we're going to end on that note. I tell you, I just have enjoyed my time with you. And to our audience, I am so blessed. I pray that you have been blessed today. And gem number 2 today was, what does it mean when you say, I do? I want to hear from you. I would like to hear from you. If you're married, I would like to hear from you. If you're single, thinking about getting married, this is something that you can think on and begin to ask yourself these questions, right?
Ooh,
We
that's
always
good.
want to ask the other person questions and all of this, but you know what, Sharita, we forget to ask our own self
Mhm.
questions.
I agree.
We need to ask ourselves some questions.
Yes.
Sometimes we need to, and we go through these different changes so God have us to face ourselves.
Yeah. Self-examination. That's good, Miss Pitts.
Yeah. So, but
That's good.
anyway, we are blessed to have you, and thank you all so much for joining us. And we appreciate you. We love you. And tune in tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, same time, and we will be sharing gem number 3. Make sure you share gem number 3, right? Yeah, gem number 3. We'll be sharing gem number 3 on tomorrow. So I tell you, we enjoyed our time with you. Thank you again, Miss Sharita Johnson. Shout out to your
Absolutely.
husband, Kim. Praise God. And we just thank God for each and every one of you, our audience. And we thank God for you joining us. So make sure you join us tomorrow. Matter of fact, we will be here every day this month. 31 days in this month. So we have a gem for every day. And all right. So until tomorrow evening, be blessed. And remember, you can also let's stay connected. I want us to stay connected, and would like for you to let's stay connected. And you can always connect with me here on Facebook, Twitter, also Instagram at Mary Pitts Live. And make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Go over to our YouTube channel, and you can also watch these gems as well here on Facebook Live as well as YouTube. And you want to learn more about what we do, where we at next, what's happening. Make sure you visit our website, marypittslive.com, marypittslive.com, marypittslive.com. So anyway, we love you. We appreciate you. And make sure you tune in on tomorrow. All right. God bless.